everybody, and welcome to today's show. I'm your host, Zach Drew. We've got some incredible things to talk about on today's program. It's election time, exciting next couple of days. Listen, this is, as you know, this is the mother of all elections, and it's here. It's the granddaddy of them all. Hey, if you want to stay outside of the mainstream news and you want to have an alternative news source for live election night coverage, I'm going to be going down to Southern Illinois and spending the day with the famous Jim Bakker. And so on Tuesday night, election night, we're going to start around 8 p.m. and we're going to go to at least 1 in the morning. So if you want live election coverage, it's going to be Jim and Lori and a couple of the people on the panel. We're going to be there for the long haul. Probably not the total long haul because it's probably going to be a couple of days before anybody actually knows anything. I'm going to get to that in just a second. So you can tune in. If you want to follow me on social media, I'll be posting the link so you can watch it live as well. Check out my Facebook page, thezachdrewshow.com, for more info on that. Election night, 8 p.m. till at least 1 in the morning. Okay, hey, so let's start off. I want to talk about the election, then talk about a big issue that's going on. There is a decent chance that one of these candidates, either Donald Trump or Kamala Harris, okay, wins all 7 swing states. Here's the article, Trump to win, and I actually want to give credit. I didn't even see this article. I found it on Glenn Beck's website, and he was quoting from this article from the Economic Times. Trump to win every swing state, that's the most likely scenario as per this Nate Silver model. It says within the article, Nate Silver's latest forecast indicates that Donald Trump has a significant chance of winning every key swing state in the upcoming 2024 U.S. election. According to the model, Trump has a 24.4% probability of claiming all 7 swing states, so 24.4%, while Vice President Kamala Harris has a 15.6% chance. Silver's analysis also suggests that if Harris wins every swing state except Arizona and Georgia, she could still win the election. However, this scenario has only a 1.7% likelihood of occurring. All right, and so obviously there could be a split. This is just a projection. It could be a 4 and 3 or what have you. But let me tell you this: 5 attorney generals have already went on record, and 5 attorney generals of the 7 swing states have already said that they won't be able to call it for 24 to 48 hours. The only way, let me tell you this is another thing that I want you to kind of keep note of for election night. The only way we could possibly project who possibly won the election early on in the night would be if Kamala Harris wins. And let me explain that. The first 2 states that we are going to know that really matter, okay, are Georgia and North Carolina. If she wins those states by, let's say, 3 or 4 points, it isn't a good sign for Donald Trump. If she wins those 2 states, Trump can still be president, but it's highly unlikely. So Kamala wins Georgia plus North Carolina equals it's likely she will be president early on in the night, okay? But as the night goes on, if she manages to secure Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, so not talking about Georgia and North Carolina right now, if she would secure Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, her chances of winning soar to 86.2%. So these are the states that we've got to be watching. The 7 swing states: Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin. And like I said, 5 AGs out of the 7 swing states are already saying they won't be able to call it for 24 to 48 hours. I've also projected it is likely that both candidates will declare victory on election night. All right. The Democrats also have a 5-step plan I want to talk about for after the vote, and it has all been laid out. So I think that there is a likely scenario that both candidates will, say that they won the election on election night. The only way past this, the only singular way past this is an absolute landslide. for Donald Trump. Here's a statement from Glenn Beck talking a little bit about that 5-step Democrat plan. Here's the quote. "We are less than a week from the 2024 election." And as you're watching this show, it's even sooner. In 2020 at this time, I was busy warning about some of the dirty tricks the left was wargaming. It involved everything from mass protests and street demonstrations to secession. Serious Democrats in positions of power and influence were strategizing behind the scenes. And in 2024, they're doubling down. I'm warning that we need to start preparing for what happens if Donald Trump wins on November 5th, or if the race is close. Mark Elias, the Democrats' main lawfare operative, has already declared that this election year is, quote, the most litigated in American history. Kamala Harris has bragged that they have teams of lawyers at the ready. Democratic congressmen have hinted they might not certify the election if Trump wins, and the media is declaring that Trump might try to steal the election. Azra Nomani, a former Wall Street Journal reporter and Woke Army author, has been tracking the foot soldiers' plans for the election and the weeks after. She's on our side, by the way. She says Trump must win by a landslide, or the fight will go from the courts to the streets. She uncovered an orchestrated effort by progressive institutions and organizations that are getting support from like-minded ideologues in China, Iran, Russia, and North Korea. Their end goal, chaos. I ask this chilling question: are the left's election war games connected to a recent revision in the Department of Defense Directive 5240.01 or 01 that addresses the use, this is Glenn Beck talking, the use of lethal military force against Americans? Whatever may happen, I'm sure of one thing: Americans must vote as soon as possible. We cannot stay silent. So like he said, Mark Elias is stating the most litigated election in American history. The singular way out of this, out of these claims, would be a total landslide, an obvious landslide for Donald Trump. Hey, I want to take a quick little break because we are officially in November, which means if you've watched the show the last 5, 6, 7 years, starting in November, we have our year-end fundraiser. It's a big one, and we have to meet this goal. We really, really need to meet this goal for this year. And the last year has been a struggle. There's been times where we've done, 50, 60, we've done, $100,000 fundraisers and been wildly successful. And other times we've done, $20,000 fundraisers and we came up radically short. This has been a really tough year and a half, and we need everybody to get involved. If we can maintain our current monthly donors, we need to raise an additional $60,000 to continue over this next year in 2025. Our goals, and I'm asking everybody that's watching, if you are fed from this program, if you like what you hear, then donate into this good soil. The money will be going towards these. First, the biggest one is to remain on television. We are in millions of homes throughout the nation on Comcast cable, as well as many places in South America. And we need, that's the main thing that the funds are going to go to. We are trying to raise the funds before the year starts that will be going to editing all of our programs in 2025. Also, all of our web developers' fees are due at the beginning of the year. We need donations to pay for closed captioning, which is a legal requirement for any syndicated television program. And we would like to set aside our anticipated accounting fees for the year of 2024. And I mentioned on the show last week, our dear friend of the ministry, Mark Eskinder, flew in from California, studied the operations of this, and he understands the need that we are in, and he wants to give this fundraiser a solid kickstart. So he has pledged through the Alice J. Hamilton Charitable Trust a $10,000 match. Right now, the first $10,000 that comes in through this fundraiser will be matched. If you give $5, it makes $10. If you give $5,000, it makes $10,000. I had to do, that's pretty simple math. My brain kind of stuttered there for a second. We need your help, okay? I want to get back to the show. I want to just tell you how to do it. You can just write us at Zach Drew Show, P.O. Box 797, Decatur, Illinois 62525, and put in that memo section that this is for the fundraiser and the matching funds. The easiest way and I want to thank Ann and Hank. Was about to raise their last name, but I'm not going to do that, for their generous donation this week of $1,000. Your $1,000 just became $2,000 thanks to the Alice J. Hamilton Charitable Trust. The easiest way, ZachDrewShow.com. Click that bright orange donate buttons. Remember, anything that you give is tax deductible as well, and we send that out at the end of the year. Okay, next topic I want to get into. Hello, I actually thought this was a radical conspiracy theory. Okay, people have been telling me about this for a while, and some people are I get emails, specifically emails. People upset that I don't talk about certain things on the program. And the reason why I don't is because I cannot prove them, okay? Just because your favorite podcaster said it doesn't mean it's true. I know that hits, I know it hits, but something that we pride ourselves here at this show is what we say. We want it to be substantiated by reputable sources. It can't just be deep, dark web things that you've heard. So one thing that I've heard that I kind of dismissed is that the possibility of Trump wanting to get rid of the entire IRS. Okay, there's some little scuttlebutt, but how can you say that? And then to completely end income tax, federal income tax. That's 93 million Americans, by the way. He wants to end it all. Okay, a little too conspiracy for me. Until, last week, he went on the Joe Rogan podcast, 3 hours. And I know that like 33 million people watched it within the first week on YouTube alone. And it was also, Joe Rogan even had to go to X. He's like, hey, no one can find the show. I even did it myself. I went to YouTube, typed in Joe Rogan, Donald Trump, and it wouldn't come up. Okay, so 33 million views, even though it wasn't coming in people's search engines. Pretty remarkable, right? So he talked about it. He talked about it on the program. And now the news is talking about it as well. Here's an article from CNN. Why not? Trump says he would consider replacing income tax with tariffs. This is huge, people. Like, this is a huge election point, okay? Here's another article. Trump wants to eliminate income taxes for all Americans. There is a way. Here's CNBC. Trump tax plans could exempt 93 million Americans from income taxes. This was on Yahoo Finance, sourced from Go Banking Rates. Trump wants to eliminate income taxes. Here's what that would mean for the economy and your wallet. So I'm going to play this clip in just a moment, but so understand how this works is he will offset that, because throughout history, for decades and decades, well, really it was until the 16th Amendment, but it really kind of changed in the 1870s and 1880s, and then it was early 19something when the 16th Amendment went into effect. But the federal government was funded by tariffs, not income tax. So by him proposing this is a radical thing. I am so for this. He will offset all of that money with tariffs. And how tariffs work, a tariff is a tax that is levied on imported goods. It's typically used to increase the cost of foreign-made products, mostly those that come from countries like China that have significantly lower labor and material costs, or those who allow unfair trade practices. So the effect of a tariff is to level the playing field for domestic companies, okay, who keep jobs local and are subject to the labor laws of the United States. So tariffs are paid to the U.S. government before foreign goods can be brought into the country. And for decades and decades in American history, the federal government was funded by tariffs, not income taxes. The 16th Amendment changed all of this, okay? So this proposed idea is what will rebuild our infrastructure, right? To build here. They're talking about a mandatory 20% tariff on anything that comes into the United States, and 60% for China. But also note that this will take a friendly Congress towards Trump to make this happen. But tariffs, they bring back jobs. Tariffs have a chance of saying, hey, you want to sell your stuff? Fine. Absolutely. Do it here. And then incentives would be offered to massive companies to bring their business back to America, right? Drilling, fracking, which will bring our energy price down. It's a lot. Listen, I want you to take a listen to Donald Trump from this week's podcast on the Joe Rogan Experience.
We're trying to get cars built in the United States. Detroit has been really tough. It's been a disaster. They have a huge factory, a huge car auto plant being built by China in Mexico, make cars, sell them in the United States, put everybody out of business. Right, here we go again. I said, if that plant is there when I'm president, I will put 100 or 200% tariffs on every car. They'll be unsaleable in the United States. And they just announced they're not going to build the plant because they think I'm going to win. Think of it. They're not going to build the plant. This was the biggest plant in the world. It would have more than all of Michigan makes. That's how big. This is what we're getting to. And I said, if that plan goes up, I want them to understand if I win, I'm going to tax those cars at the rate of 100 or 200% apiece so that you won't be able to sell them in the United States. They just announced they're not going to build the plant.
Yeah, I read this.
I did a big favor for our country by doing that. And I'm not even there yet. To me, the most beautiful word, and I've said this for the last couple of weeks, in the dictionary today, is the word tariff. It's more beautiful than love. It's more beautiful than anything. It's the most beautiful word. This country can become rich with the proper use of tariffs. It'll keep
Did you just
companies.
float out the idea of getting rid of income taxes and replacing it with tariffs?
Well, okay.
Were you serious about that?
Yeah, sure. But why not? Because our country was the richest relatively in the 1880s and 1890s. A president who was assassinated named McKinley. He was the tariff king. He spoke beautifully of tariffs. His language was really beautiful. We will not allow the enemy to come in and take our jobs and take our factories and take our workers and take our families unless they pay a big price. And the big price is tariffs. And he'd speak like that, but he was right. And then around in the early 1900s, they switched over stupidly to, frankly, an income tax. And you know why? Because countries were putting a lot of pressure on America. We don't want to pay tariffs. Please don't. Believe me, they control our politicians. If you look at the kind of numbers that these guys make then and now, but we had a commission meeting in the, I think it was 1887. Think of this problem. We were so rich. We had so much money. We didn't know what to do. So they set up a blue ribbon commission on tariffs. And the sole purpose is what to do with all the money we had. We were so rich because we were taxing other people for coming in and taking our jobs.
This was America pre the 16th Amendment. So the 16th Amendment was a response to the 1895 Supreme Court case of Pollock versus Farmers Loan and Trust Company, in which the court ruled that the income tax was a direct tax and would have to be apportioned. The 16th Amendment settled the constitutional question of how to tax income, which dramatically changed America in a horrible way, honestly. The 16th Amendment states, the Congress shall have power to lay and collect taxes on incomes from whatever source derived, without apportionment among the several states and without regard to any census or enumeration. Do away with income tax, and this country will see growth like it never has before. The U.S. has a chance with Trump to set back on course again. Remember El Salvador's president? I'm going to play this clip for you, actually. Exposing the IRS and excessive American tax system and how they are 100% unnecessary. It is a pretty enlightening video, and I'm going to show this clip, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to end with just a thought or two about the election, some important issues, and then hopefully you'll tune in this Tuesday to a live election night coverage. I'll be with Jim Bakker in southern Missouri. We'll start at around 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we're going to go to at least 1 in the morning. Okay? Watch this enlightening video.
There are other symptoms that are even more difficult to diagnose. For instance, the financial situation of the United States. When I talk to my conservative friends right here, they always tell me that the problem is high taxes, but they're wrong. Of course, high taxes are extremely high here in the United States. I give you that. You're right in that. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is not the high taxes themselves, but the fact that they are not even really funding the government. Not even those high taxes, higher than a lot of places in the world, not even those taxes are really funding the government. So who's financing the government? Government is financed by treasury bonds, paper. And who buys the treasury bonds? Mostly the Fed. And how does the Fed buy them? By printing money. But what backing does the Fed have for that money being printed? The treasury bonds themselves. So basically, you finance the government by printing money out of thin air. Someone could ask, well, so if the government can print unlimited amounts of money out of thin air, why do they collect taxes? I mean, in theory, it would make sense, right? If they can print unlimited amounts of money, why would they need taxes for? The answer is simple, but it's very shocking. The real problem is that you pay high taxes only to uphold the illusion that you are funding the government, which you are not. It's shocking, but it's true. The government is funded by money printing, paper backed with paper, a bubble that will inevitably burst. The situation is even worse than it seems, because if most Americans and the rest of the world were to become aware of this farce, confidence in your currency would be lost, the dollar will fall, and the Western civilization with it. If the next president of the United States doesn't make the necessary policies and structural changes, sooner or later that bubble will burst. There's still time. You don't have to make the same mistakes we did in the 60s and the 70s. You can still jump before the water boils. Winning the election isn't enough to solve these problems. They will not simply go away as a consequence of an electoral result. It would take a total re-engineering of the government top to bottom. It will entail making difficult decisions, like the ones we made in El Salvador since 2019, and they're already paying off. It will be hard. The system will push back. But you have the right to determine your own fate.
I thought it was pretty interesting. I thought, whenever I read and consume material, I think, hey, if I found this pretty interesting, maybe my audience will too. So I wanted to share that with you. You know, this is it. This is, to the victor goes the spoils. If Kamala wins this election, we will never have a conservative president again. We won't. It'd basically be impossible. And the big issue is this. We've talked about it in the program. It's granting amnesty to illegal aliens. Nearly, might even be a little bit more than this, 21 million. 21 million. And they will grant amnesty to all of them. And that's why they're busing them in up the wazoo. And don't ever forget where they're putting them. You know, we have sanctuary cities all over America, but don't forget where they're putting them. They're putting them primarily in the 7 battleground states, in the 7 swing states. People have got to be so stupid, so very, very stupid, not to see that for what it is. Why would the majority go to the 7 battleground states? That's because they're the battleground states. It's evil, it's wicked, and they have a plan. And you know what they're doing, unfortunately, they're following a model that Ronald Reagan gave us. Ronald Reagan, a fantastic president, he basically said, in my time in office, there's one major thing that I regret. If you could have taken it back, he would have. And it was the 1986 amnesty bill for California. Those who are old enough will remember that California was a red state. It was a very red state. And that changed in the late 1980s. Why? Because Ronald Reagan was successful with the 1986 amnesty bill, and it granted amnesty to nearly 3 million illegal aliens in California, and he wishes he wouldn't have done it. We all make mistakes. That was a big one. And because of that, California is what it is today, in my opinion. And that is exactly what they're trying to do, but not just in one state, for all of America. And it's clear, if Kamala becomes president, they will do everything they can, because that one issue will secure everything for them. They were so shocked in 2016 whenever Donald Trump won, because they had a 16-year plan. It was 8 years of Barack Obama, and then they thought it was going to be 8 years of Hillary Clinton. And Trump came in there and exploded it all. If they can get through this bill, they will never have to worry about any election ever again. It'll be in the bag for them, done and over. And America will go down the pooper. Absolutely it will. My goodness. Listen, I am out of time for today's show. Be prayerful. Be praying that God's hand, that this would be a part of God's sovereign will. That the Lord would make this happen. That He would save America. And if Kamala does win, to me, all that what would say is that people get ready, because Jesus is coming soon. It is closer than we even would know. Because there is one thing standing in the way of an antichrist, a full-blown antichrist New World system, and that's a strong America. And this election is it. It's it. Once again, if you missed it towards the middle of the program, we need your help. We need to raise $60,000. 60. And my faith is being challenged. Come and stand alongside me. Right now, thanks to Mark Eskinder, the first $10,000 towards this $60,000 fundraiser for our needs for 2025 are going to be matched for the first $10,000 that come in. Get involved. Whatever you give will be doubled right now, up to $10,000. Just write us at Zach Drew Show, P.O. Box 797, Decatur, Illinois, 62525. And in that memo section, don't forget to put that this is for the fundraiser and the matching funds. The easiest way to give is to simply go to ZachDrewShow.com. That's easy. It's my name, ZachDrewShow.com, and click that bright orange donate button. Get involved today. I'll see you all next week.